It's time to talk about Resident Evil 4. When I found out that they're going to be doing a remake of this game, I decided to go down nostalgia lane and pick it up again and give it a try. This is a very important game in the Resident Evil series and in horror survival genre in general. And I'm not overselling it when I say that. This game was released on the GameCube back in 2005, and like a gas leak in a smoker's house, it blew up and it got everyone's attention. Resident Evil 4 has sold over 11 million copies, a feat achieved thanks to being on the market for so long and being ported to all the gaming platforms. The game also entered the Guinness Book of World Records for being the best-selling survival horror game. Capcom decided they wanted to make some changes to the Resident Evil gameplay and story elements in order to try to spice things up and help sell more games, and this risk to make such a change really paid off for them. No longer do you have a fixed camera angle that limits your visibility to your surroundings. It has been switched over to a third-person perspective so that way you can see more around you. Controlling the character movement was made easier for smoother actions, and you can aim freely in any direction you please with a laser sight working in place of the crosshairs unless you are using a scoped weapon. And in a change that no one saw coming, you are no longer dealing with zombies. You are now dealing with people who have been infected with parasites known as the Las Plagas, which offer new enemies and offers new ways of thinking in order to survive. Because no longer do they simply follow you around, now they can use weapons unless you disarm them, in which they will simply follow you around from that point on. Now, if you don't know much about the Resident Evil series, let me go ahead and give you a little backstory on the main character, Leon Kennedy. Leon is a character from the Resident Evil 2 game whose first day on the job as a cop in Raccoon City was a very unpleasant one, because the same day he started was the same day the zombie outbreak happened. He fought his way through the entire outbreak and managed to escape just in time before the place was nuked. And ever since the incident, he's managed to work his way up into a position in the Secret Service, and is now under the orders of the president to go to a European place called Spain. That place is a meme. The reason for this is because the president's daughter was kidnapped by a mysterious group that no one knows anything about. Leon, along with his emo-style haircut, takes on the mission not realizing what awaits him. Now, Resident Evil 4 did a really good job on its first level, allowing it to be new player friendly and be friendly to the players who are used to playing the old ways of the Resident Evil series. You are not rushed to go anywhere. You can freely roam about at your own pace, allowing you to get used to the button controls, the movement speed, and how everything works. And it drops subtle hints in a cutscene that, hey, this house is something you may want to enter, instead of directly going, hey, go here. And then when you finally decide to go into the house, you will get a cutscene of Leon Kennedy talking to a villager who is acting very strange if he has seen the president's daughter. The villager is upset that Leon is in his house and politely asks him to leave.
Freeze! I said freeze!
And this is where Resident Evil 4 will introduce its new form of combat. You cannot strafe, you cannot hip fire, and you cannot move when you're ADS and you stand perfectly still, so positioning yourself in the right spots is key to survival and taking less damage. And since you can aim anywhere you want, location damage is very important in this game. You can try to live out your fantasy as an American action movie star and pump their guts full of lead, but that is very wasteful, and this game is very resource management heavy. So you're probably thinking, oh, I'll just go for a one-hit headshot kill. That doesn't necessarily work all the time. At most, you will stun them, which will allow you to run up to them, melee them with your knife, or you will perform a quick time melee. Another way that you can slow them down is shooting them in the legs, which will either stun them or cause them to completely fall down. And like I previously said, these enemies will be having weapons that they can throw. So you can either shoot the weapons out of their hands, or you can shoot it out of the air whenever they throw it. And there will also be enemies that carry explosives where you can shoot the explosive and it will do damage to them, usually taking them out. And sometimes when you're aiming at the enemy, they will try to evade your line of sight, which makes it look like they're dancing. This is a video game, sir. There is no time for fun. And then the game decides to introduce you to the mini-bosses. Yeah, these tanky individuals don't play around, and they will let you know when you bloody well screw up. They will one-shot you, so treat them like a family reunion and stay far away from them. Another thing that was introduced was quick time events, where you mash certain buttons at specific points in order to survive or progress. This had mixed reviews. Some people liked it and some people didn't. I personally didn't mind the quick time events during gameplay, but during cutscenes I didn't like it at all because I wanted to enjoy the scene instead of waiting to be told what to press during something I would rather have more focus on. Let me give you a little example of what I mean here. Here's a good fight scene between Leon Kennedy and his old buddy Krauser, who defected over to the cult. This is a really good scene. Unfortunately, it is greatly hindered by the fact that you got to keep your eyes at the bottom of the screen, in the middle of the screen, in order to see what buttons you need to press in order to continue. I cannot focus on the fight. I had to focus on this one particular section of the screen, and that is really annoying. The world of Resident Evil 4 is similar to the Resident Evil games that came before it. You are placed in a location that you cannot progress past unless you have the required items in order to proceed. The items are either well hidden or locked behind puzzles that you have to solve. The puzzles are usually well guarded, so you may have to fight your way through them, but if possible, you can make your way through them without having to waste resources. With this in mind, you better mind your resources well and think about how you're going to approach the problem or how you're going to get away from it. And as you can see here, I wasn't properly prepared because I didn't have enough healing items. So manage your resources well, because trust me, the last place you want to be is in the middle of a horde with nothing to fight back with but your melee, or heaven forbid, these bloody... All the people who played this game before know exactly who I'm talking about. You want to hear the most disturbing sound in the game? That sound came from this thing, and it scared everybody back in the day. What, you think you can take it on? Go ahead, unload everything you have into it. There's no guarantee that it's going to work. And so what, you blow off a limb or two? It'll just grow it back. And guess what? After your first encounter with one, these things are almost everywhere. There is an item you can find that helps makes it easier to find, but I'm not going to tell you. You can suffer if you don't bother to do research. So yeah, the game does have enemies that are designed to try to waste your resources if you don't manage yourself properly. And it's not just the really tanky characters that are made for this. The game also throws in one little curveball to try to throw you off on your resource management. And it's showing this ability of the Las Plagas. So yeah, some of the common enemies will have these more advanced parasites in them, and they seem to pop up at random. They either pop up whenever you do too much damage to them or whenever you blow off their head. And one way these things eat up your resources by forcing you to take them on from a distance. Because if you get close, they will do heavy damage to you. Luckily, there is someone in the game who is willing to help you throughout your adventure, but only for the right price, and that's the merchant.
Got something that might interest you.
Admit it, you thought he was going to flash you. You're not that lucky. The merchant is going to be the fellow that you're going to be buying all your weapons, your upgrades, your ammo, and your healing items from. And you can sell treasures that you find across the game in order to help you buy these items. Some treasures do combine to increase the value of the item greatly, so that's highly recommended that you hold on to something instead of just immediately sell it. Try to find out what combines and what does not. He also sells the case upgrade, which increases the amount of inventory that you can have, and that's a must purchase. Unless you want a challenge, then you can stay with the smallest case. Let's talk about the characters for a moment. The big baddie of this game is Sadler, who kidnapped Ashley so he can use her for ransom money and have her infected so that way she can spread the parasite into America upon her return to the States. He has control over the parasites and commands them to do his bidding. And you'll be running into him every so often in this game. But he's always just out of reach, mocking you, sending his henchmen to do all his work. And speaking of his henchmen, here's his right-hand man, Bitoris, who is this towering lump of meat who expels dominance and fear with every step he takes. He's by no means a pushover, and his boss battle is amazing. Because even though he gets majorly crippled in the fight, he still manages to find a way to be a very good challenge for you, using the environment around him in order to invoke fear, anxiety, and get the upper hand on you. He also doesn't like it whenever you go into his room, as Leon quickly found out. There is so much anger behind that fist that is breaking all the laws of physics and reality.
Leon!
Louis.
I've got something for you guys.
And then you have Luis, who is helping you out at certain points in the game and tries to get the cure for you and Ashley. He's an interesting character, and I really enjoyed the gameplay time that I had with him during the siege on the abandoned house. He helps you out a lot and even gives you free ammo. And then you have Salazar, a 20-year-old little person who shows that size doesn't matter. It's how much wealth and how many mindless servants you have. Along with the fact that size does matter. Ada Wong is here as well, and she's working behind the scenes with Wesker trying to get a sample of the Las Plagas. And Leon is still thirsty for her since Resident Evil 2. And then we have... Ashley, the daughter of the president and the bane of this game. Yeah, Resident Evil 4 is also an escort game where you have to lead her around and try to keep her safe. You can tell her to stay put, or you can have her hide, but she is almost completely useless and makes the game annoying in some areas. Yes, I know she is needed to progress in some parts of the game, but sometimes it feels more like bad writing. You're telling me a Secret Service agent can't climb a wooden door and needs the help from a helpless lady who is so lazy she refuses to use a ladder to climb down and has you come and catch her as she jumps down instead? Can you tell I don't like her? Let's put it this, here's a little example of how annoying she is. She will get kidnapped during gameplay and that's game over. But if she gets kidnapped during a cutscene, the game goes on like normal, which makes no bloody sense at all. And she will sometimes get in the way when you're shooting. Yes, she does her best to try to get out of your line of sight, but it's more of a gamble if she does it in time or even chooses to do it. And with her being around in certain areas, you are limited on the weapons that you can use. I refuse to use explosives because of the splash damage hitting her, and I refuse to use the shotguns around her due to the pellet spread. And there are times where she purposely pushes you in harm's way and gets herself killed. Here's a little example where I'm fighting off a horde and she pushes me right into them and then hides in the corner and gets killed. The developers knew how annoying she was and gave her an unlockable skin of Knight Armor. Yes, you can unlock Knight Armor for her after you do certain things in the game to unlock it. The Knight Armor makes her bullet resistant and makes it impossible for the infected to carry her away. So that way on your second playthrough, you don't have to worry about her too much. And here's another example of how annoying she is. At the end of the game, she asks Leon for some overtime, and we all know exactly what she means by that. But Leon rejects her. Yeah, even he knows how annoying she is and doesn't want to spend any more time with her. Also, how is it that the president's daughter, who I am pretty sure has never seen this vehicle before in her life, knows how to operate it perfectly? But oh no, she doesn't want to pick up a handgun and use it to defend herself. She'll just stand there perfectly still while the enemy just comes after her. Can you tell I hate her? I am doing my best to make it obvious. But luckily she is not with you throughout the entire playthrough, and it is a godsend whenever she is not with you. Now you're probably wondering, is this game worth my time and money? Well, yes, it is. This may be an older game, but it's a game that held up pretty well. And after you beat the game, you can play the game with all your upgrades and unlockables. You can play it with the unlockable skins like I previously mentioned. Also, after beating the game, you get extra missions that you can do. And 2 of the unlockable games that you can play allow you to play as Ada Wong, so that way you can get her side of the story of what was going on while you were playing as Leon. But my personal favorite is the Mercenaries. It's basically just a mini survival game where you play against a horde of enemies with a given time limit, and you try to accumulate as much points as possible. And you can play it as different characters, each with their own specific weapon set. So yes, give this game a try. It is well worth it. And that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you have a good day.